It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belgast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 300.
Wow.
Tonight I'm joined by Ammo,
Lolly-ho.
Ashgar,
Hi.
Grace,
Hello.
Kodra.
Does that make it the 300th time you've used that intro?
Something like
twice.
Actually, no. Hang on. Damn.
Hey.
Phelan.
Hey there.
No, like several of the show, like, okay, it took me a long time until I finally standardized on this greeting, because I don't remember, this is some time ago, I was trying to go back and figure out when exactly, so the two things I was looking for was like, when exactly I standardized on this greeting, and when Tam actually became a regular. Because, yeah, like, my greetings were a train wreck.
And spoilers, I definitely don't listen to this show. I don't know that any of us do. Are we still using Naruto as our theme music?
It was Bleach.
It's Bleach.
Bleach.
It's
Okay.
Bleach season 1. Yeah, we still are. And you know what? YouTube has never picked up on it. Like, it's less than 10 seconds. And it's like in the middle of it, but yeah, no, it's absolutely Bleach. I've never replaced it. Like, I've looked for replacements. I talked to our friend Sil, who was maybe going to like write something for us, but like all she ended up writing were like super heavy, serious pieces, and like she's like, yeah, no, this isn't working. Yeah, so this is the 300th episode, and impressively large numbers are impressive. We've been doing this for a little over 6 years, which is confusing because, like I say, we're in the 7th season because for whatever reason I track that based on year, like calendar year, not actual time lapsed.
But why though?
I don't know.
Why do
Like-
we do anything we do?
Like I made a bunch of poor choices.
5 years ago.
Poor decisions were made because none of us knew what we were doing. But we still really don't know what we're doing.
I think more often it's a decision wasn't made and we just, fell into something.
That is more true than not. Like, things happen and then we just keep doing that thing because it worked the first time. So yeah, like our very first episode was called Finding the Format, and we stumbled around for a long time before we landed on anything even vaguely close to a format. And even then, I'm not real sure that we have a true format. Like, I'm sure probably our handful of listeners would tell us that, yeah, no, there is a pattern to this, but there are a lot of times that it feels like we're mostly just flying by the seat of our pants. Like today, we don't have any kind of a script. I just have some ideas. And that first show had me and Ash and Kodra and a friend of ours, Ray, and that was sort of the original cast. But it's real hard to say an original cast because by episode 3, No Free Lunch, Tam was already filling in because Ray's attendance was anything but regular. That was the thing that so I was constantly hunting for new people to fill in. So there's a period of the show for probably the first 20 episodes where we had kind of a wild assortment of hosts. I know Warren Wolf's been on the show a couple times. Dalian for a while was like our regular fill-in because he was always willing to do it. I know we've had like Raven Way on there. We've had a lot of people. We've had Inky. I know we've had Neff. We've had Shiana. But Tam, you officially, your first show was the 3rd episode. And I guess in my head, you joined later than that. Like, I don't know why. Like it seemed that it wasn't the third episode. like I thought it was somewhere around episode 10, which is probably when you became like a weekly thing.
He didn't really become a regular until leaving Zos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because there's a limit to what he could say until that point.
Yeah, like so just to fill in,
Right.
like there's a reason why Tam wasn't in the original batch, and it wasn't because we didn't want to include him. It's just we were afraid he couldn't say anything.
Man, games industry's real litigious, yo.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one of the things that like we've hinted at a couple times, so I just talked about like all these different people that have been on the show. When I talk about AggroChat, I tend to talk about AggroChat as if it was a community and not necessarily like the specific cast members that you see on the show. And in reality, like, so I said the other day that like Lior's Cat Context was the inspiration for me starting a podcast. The truth is, like, this show wouldn't have existed were it not for an AOL chat channel. Simple as that. Like, for the better part of a decade, lots of us hung out in this AOL chat channel that served as
Honestly,
a roaming community.
wasn't it a replacement for the fact that there was a WoW chat channel and none of us played WoW anymore?
yeah.
Because it was, we want to do things with an element of fun. An element of fun, I believe, was a WoW chat channel.
Eventually moved over to Google Talk and then to AIM and then to Slack.
Well, and yeah, like, for the longest time, wasn't it to the point where you weren't sure if you could actually add or remove anyone from the AOL chat channel?
AIM stopped working real well before it shut down.
Yeah.
It's true. We didn't
And I don't-
really have any way of administrating that chat. We couldn't. I don't even know what we could do with it. It was very limited.
Well, but like,
But yeah, it started. So a little bit of background on that one, which I can provide, is we joined a group when I left WoW bitterly. I was talked into teaching some new people how to raid, and part of my because there was a guild there was a group that we were in, and some people I knew in person wanted to raid in WoW because they'd heard that was a thing. And there was a person in that group who was pathologically unsatisfied with doing like anything the normal way. It's one of those like really, really, really wanted to make his personal mark on things. Like he didn't want to do anything. He wanted to have control over the things that were going on and wanted to be like, I'm unique and interesting and not doing things the normal way. Which got tiresome. Because sometimes you could just do things and it's fun. You don't have to like be, I don't even know. It doesn't have to be complicated. But long story short, he would preface anytime there was going to be some inserted like, let's do this, but in some annoying weird way. It was for an element of fun, let's do this. And mostly to avoid that, we had a separate chat channel that was element of fun in the game, where we could be like, where we could chat without that particular inclusion. And that eventually became our like, when we joined Sanctioned, that became our like sanity chat.
Okay.
Where we could talk without
We were also using it for cross-guild communication before Sanctioned.
Yeah, we were using it for cross-guild communication, and it became a very handy way to be like, you know what? Let's say the things that we're thinking about Sanctioned.
So was this a holdover from late Burning Crusade?
I think so. That sounds right.
Because I joined you guys for Wrath of the Lich King, and I was not. I when the guild apocalypse happened, my real friends were like, you should leave your fake friends and come join your real friends from real life and do serious raiding with us. And boy,
Man.
do I not want to do that ever again.
Friends from real life are overrated sometimes.
Worst mistake ever. Well, I don't know. It sounds like there were some dark times that I got to dodge. But
I mean, like, while y'all were doing this, I was having my own dark times, having a raid basically dropped in my lap within a week's notice.
yeah.
When the guild leader decided to just check out because, like, he wanted to go be hardcore. So grats, here's the raid.
Yeah.
And that was kind of, I was like, if I'm gonna teach a bunch of people how to raid, I'm going to seed the raid with people I know and trust in key positions so that I don't have to, I don't know, I don't have to like rely on unreliable people in key like tanking and healing roles.
I know I came back into the fold at Cataclysm because that's the point at which I don't know if you were already headed back to Argent Dawn at that point, or if we had
back to Argent Dawn as soon as we killed the Lich King.
Okay. Yeah, because like I don't remember the exact sequence if we had started talking before then or if I talked you into coming back to Argent Dawn, or I don't remember. I just know for Cataclysm you were at Argent Dawn. And that was a real weird time for the guild.
I mean, that's a real weird time for pretty much every guild.
So
True.
we had been, like, Phelan and I were leaders of a raid called Duranub, which draws its lineage back to the original raid that Tam and Kodra and I were all in vanilla, because Shiana used to say we were a durable pack of nubs. And Daggeransis, which is a mutual friend of Phelan and I, and was also raiding with us, talked me into his grand idea of starting this raid during BC. And yeah, so the problem is like we were very much a non-guild based raid in the avenue of late night raiders. Like, it was basically us trying to recreate late night raiders, because like that was the most fun a lot of us had. And Phelan was in Last Horse, but you know, it was a very similar kind of environment.
Yeah, I was over there with Warren.
Yeah, we got Phelan and Warren in the divorce.
Yeah, when they went off and changed their name, and it was weird.
Yeah. So yeah, it was during the Cataclysm release. Blizzard, in their infinite wisdom, decided to tie all of the perks you got from raiding to your guild.
Yeah, because honestly, Durna worked really well, like in the last half of Burning Crusade and all through Lich King.
Yeah, it was really fun in Lich King. I mean, I had a smaller 10-person raid that was kind of for sanity's sake. And then we had the big 25-player raid. And it went pretty well. But
I mean, about as well as a 25-man raid can, 25 people all, can be expected to, I think.
Right. But the problem is like, so House Stalwart was the largest majority of that raid. But then we had, I don't know, a dozen smaller satellite guilds that like kept their own stuff and they wanted to be their own guild, and that was cool. But then 2 or 3 people would raid from that. And it was a lot of the way, like, that's kind of the structure that late night raiders had too. But when Cataclysm hit, everybody wanted to have the perks that came with clearing content. So within a matter of weeks, there was this cultural apocalypse that happened as all of these tiny guilds suddenly wanted to join House Stalwart, and trying to figure out a way to like not have a bunch of individual cliques that are like, these are the kindred people and these are the, God, I don't even remember what guild Helcom was in.
Oh, was that when they added like guild XP or whatever?
Yes. Yes. And your heirlooms were tied to your guild. The mount was tied to guild raid progression.
Yeah, mounts and pets
and buffs.
Yeah.
Mass resurrection ability.
Everything was
Guild
about
bank.
Yeah, it was time to make Mega Guild.
Yeah, they basically
mechanics.
instantly killed multi-guild raiding.
Right. So like literally overnight, we went from being, I don't know, we were probably a 400 or 500 character guild at that point with all the alts to like bumping up against the 1,000 character limit of the guild.
So I don't remember this. When was this happening?
Cataclysm.
Cataclysm.
The day
now
they
I
broke the
remember.
world.
Because we had been, now I remember the timeline better, because we had been like, well, our small guild is basically going to fold because we're not going to have the people to like maintain any of the stuff. And that's when we thought, hey, maybe let's come back to Argent Dawn, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, sequence of events gets a little fuzzy, but like, I know I first met Ash while leveling in Cataclysm because I tried my damnedest to level by running a bunch of dungeons. And I spent a lot of time
to do that thing.
I spent a lot of time with Ash in some kind of role. It was either he tanking or I was tanking, and Tam at that point was healing on a druid.
Yep.
And we ran a ton of content. And this was the era when like heroics were actually pretty challenging. So like there was a lot of stuff that was interesting problem solving that had to happen in these dungeons as we first broke them for the first time. So kind of from that point on, we were always in the same orbit. Like I hung out significantly more with this small group through the AOL chat than I did with, the guild as a whole. And I don't know, like I was going through a lot of disillusionment with how Stalwart and with WoW at this time, because like there were a lot of cultural clashes that happened by trying to drop everybody into the same guild. And so like when it came to raiding, most of the people didn't want to do 25 player raiding. They wanted to do 10 player raiding. So we had this horrible abomination that was like 4 different raid groups.
These groups were not of equal scale.
No,
not even remotely.
And so someone that I haven't seen in ages was the ringleader of the raid group I was in. And like, if you put a title on that raid, you would have called it the Tryhard Group. It was the tryhardiest of Tryhard Group. And I don't know how I got pegged for this to tank it, but like I did. And it was miserable. Like, it was not my scene. I would have been significantly better off either in the group that Tam was in or the group that Phelan was in, because that, like,
you didn't end up in the group that I ended up in.
I was going to say,
Poor
all
Ash.
I remember about this was poor Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like,
Didn't we
some-
eventually snipe you, Ash?
Yes, there was
Yes,
eventually
you
some
did.
shuffling of people.
Yeah, I know
But
that.
then that eventually stopped happening, so I had to go back to that group and then stopped playing entirely.
yeah, it burnt me out enough to where when Rift came out, I clamped onto that with both arms like a life raft and jettisoned out of WoW.
Yeah, I remember at that point, my group was being basically as successful as the top group, basically the group that Belle's describing. We were maybe a boss or two behind, and
We were one boss behind.
we were one boss behind, and boy, was there drama about that, because I did not run the same type of tight ship.
Who cares about Flax? Just show up and try to kill some bosses.
There was so much drama happening behind the scenes in that raid group, though, because there was a power couple that effectively was demanding how the structure worked in there, and they were not in the quote unquote leadership of that group.
Yeah,
So
it was a mess.
there was just mess happening. Like, it was so yeah, like when Rift came out, I hit the eject button, gave away all of my gold, said I'm never coming back to WoW. And
For the first time.
For the first time, I changed the allegiance of my blog from being what was previously a warrior tanking blog and eventually like a raiding blog to a Rift fan site. And the funny thing is like if I log into the Rift forums, my account is still flagged as whatever color the fan site operators are. Yeah, like so, and honestly, like lots of people went over to play Rift, but like I think I was among the more diehard of Rift players.
I mean, it makes sense that you would get the special treatment. They're always looking out for influencers.
It's true.
This was before that was even a term, but it's still true.
I both love and hate you, Kodra. like, yeah. Side note, I hate the term influencer. I really do. And as much as I try and deny it, the fact that my inbox fills up with like advertisers and shit kind of defeats the purpose. Anyway. Yeah, so that's the point at which we kind of coalesced into, or I joined this little community. And then like we played Star Wars together. We played
Star Wars is where we picked up Grace, right?
No.
And Ammo.
We picked up Grace via Twitter.
So like, yeah, Grace was via Twitter, and I decided so I was trying to figure this out because like Ammo has always played on Argent Dawn.
Yeah, but I'd like never played with you guys because I didn't actually start hanging out with y'all until 14.
Yeah.
I know how this happened. Like I finally realized the sequence of events that led me to Ammo. Twitter.
Oh, okay.
It's Twitter. Because anytime I play a game, I go through this pattern where I start searching for the server name on Twitter. And your mom had Argent Dawn in the tag, and I think I followed her, and then she followed me back, and then we had some communications. But, like, we didn't actually play WoW. But I'm pretty sure it was through Twitter.
Yep.
And then I don't exactly know when she started hanging out with us. I think maybe we invited her. I think maybe she did get invited to a couple raids.
She might have, yeah. But I think she really also joined in the 14 kind of era a few months before I did. I think. Yeah. But yeah, she might, maybe some raids in WoW, because for a while I wasn't doing like any raiding and anything or whatever. And I know she was.
But I absolutely know, like, I know you through your mom.
Yep.
Like, I knew your mom well before I knew you.
Yep.
But, like, it also kind of feels like I've known you forever at this point. And you have been doing artwork for me for the blog and AggroChat and all of that for ages.
Yes.
So, like, I guess, see, this is part of the thing. Like, so when I talk about AggroChat, again, like, I kind of talk about it like it's an extended community because, like, there's a bunch of people that we're regularly interacting with loosely connected to the podcast that, like, nobody that listens will probably ever know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of them are probably listening.
Yeah, it's true. Grace and Thalen joined within a week of each other.
Yep.
Thalen joined in episode 51, and Grace joined in episode 52, which was our big 2.0 A Realm Reborn wrap-up show talking about the story of ARR, which basically the second credit roll for A Realm Reborn. And then Ammo,
after being away from that game for a year and coming back, couldn't believe what they'd done with the place.
Exactly. Like we had all mostly left prior to the first patch, or maybe just right after the first patch.
I stopped playing shortly after the first patch.
Same.
Yeah, I remember
that was the patch that actually made it possible to maintain a guild amount that was positive by playing the game.
That was definitely a thing. There were guild woes early on in that game.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was a hyper-deflationary economy. Like, there was no way to make a guild other than questing, and you ran out of quests and just paid repair bills.
Yep.
This is now completely alien.
Yes.
Right. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You can make money left and right.
Yeah.
Well, like, I mean, so like even in your alt madness, Grace, I'm sure you teleport everywhere and don't have to worry about it. But like,
Oh yeah.
there was absolutely a time when I was riding between zones because I didn't want to teleport.
It was miserable. Like, it was absolutely why I ducked out.
I mean, if you run a dungeon, you incur a certain amount in repair bills, and then the mobs don't drop anything worth any money, so you don't make that back in any way.
And it's not like guild hests or leaves or anything was worth any money.
No, I think 2.1 was when they implemented Adventurer in Need, in fact.
And that helped.
Is how I make all my money as a tank, quite frankly.
It's legit.
I should start doing that, but like I haven't gotten back to the point where I'm actually tanking in that game.
Do I need to make you a set of tank gear?
I mean, my tank gear wasn't as bad as my samurai gear. My tank gear is 440. So like
sounds like yes.
Oh,
that
sure.
would be a yes.
Okay. Sure.
That's pretty behind at this point.
Phelan offering me gear, sure. Absolutely.
I mean, I'm gonna put my hand out while we're putting our hands out.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
I have some gear.
You need some. Do you want summoner or scholar? Or are you playing something else now? Scholar. Okay, I can do this.
I might prevail upon you as well. For the problem is I don't want to prevail upon you because I need a lot of gear.
It's fine. I'm back up to 100,000.
Phelan mailed me a full set.
I'm back up almost to 100 million gil. Plus, I've got all sorts of crafting stuff stocked up. So.
100 million gil?
Yeah, no. Look, Phelan is ludicrously loaded.
Holy hell! I thought I was fine at 1 million.
You are fine. That's the thing.
Oh my god! I didn't realize we had Daddy Warbucks in the guild.
Once you get past a certain point, like there's not really anything you can do with the gil except make more gil. So
legitimately, there was a point when we were saving up for the new house that I considered like going hat in hand and being like, "Hey, Phelan." But that was at the point when you were in the depths of burnout, and I was like, that's a little crass. So maybe let's not.
Yeah, I think I had 2 million prior to us buying a new guild house, and because I think I pitched in 1 million. Anyway, so ammo, like, so what's hilarious is like time has no meaning to me, especially in the course of this show. Like, I knew Grace and Phelan weren't at the beginning, and I also knew they had been regulars for a really freaking long time, but like I didn't realize there was like a 200 episode gap between when they joined and when Ammo joined. Because Ammo joined on episode 250, and like I don't know exactly why, but like all of a sudden I decided that Ammo should join.
I mean, it was partially because I was working on my dissertation and not really able to be around all the time.
Mm-hmm. We were suffering from a distinct lack of grace.
Yes. Well, and part of it too is like, I don't know, like the reason why we had so many random hosts in the beginning is you really have to have at least 3 people to make a show like this work. And ever since trying to scrape around and beg people to join to make a third, I've wanted to have a pretty lively group so that we always have plenty of people, regardless of like when somebody needs to take the week off. And we've even figured out how to make it work without me. So like this is all great for I think the health of our members, because they can be gone for a while. And like Grace needed to be gone for a while.
As long as we have our algorithmic editor.
Yeah.
I know that Ash made the comment that our earliest episodes don't benefit from our algorithmic editor and are basically unlistenable as a result.
I want to know what the point was when I learned you could do truncate silence. Like, I don't know when that was, but that was a clear improvement.
If I remember correctly, a listener told you, so probably episode 3 or 4.
I think it was further in, because like I would say the first 20 episodes are mostly unlistenable. Like, I think Lyle has gone back and proved that no, they're bad. They're real bad.
I mean, I have a confession to make. I had never listened to the show when you invited me to be on it. And I was like, oh, crap, I guess I better go listen to a couple of these and see what the heck this is all about.
And please tell me you didn't start with the first one.
No, I listened to the recent ones because I wanted to know, what you had been talking about the last couple weeks. But
and you discovered that continuity is a lie.
Yeah, but I agreed totally blind. Like, sure, fine, that sounds fine.
Like, I think you had guested on a podcast or two prior to that.
Yeah, not this podcast, but yes, other.
Because you were deeply involved in the WildStar community.
Yes, I was.
R.I.P. WildStar.
Yeah.
May there someday be emulator servers.
Indeed.
I mean, it's not a licensed IP, so that's one thing they don't have to worry about.
Not anymore. Yeah, so it's just weird, the progression of this show, because, like, yeah, I mean, I absolutely took, Cliff's notes from how Cat Context worked, but, like, without this community of already existing, this show never would have happened. And I think mostly I just wanted to bring the kind of random conversations that we regularly had on voice chat into a podcast form, because I thought, that might be listenable. I don't know why people continue to listen, but we do apparently have some listeners. Like,
they're invested now.
When I was pulling together, like, some statistics, like our highest listened show is one that I don't even like. It is one of the least AggroChatty shows, because we were following somebody else.
We had a format to follow.
Yeah, we were following somebody else's format. Basically, Alt Chat did this thing for the 10th anniversary of WoW, where she posted like 10 questions that she was asking a bunch of people to answer. And the funny thing is, like, this is far and away our most listened podcast, like by a good chunk. And like, I don't think any of our podcast actually made it into her reel of answers to the questions. So we did this thing, and it never got used.
I have to imagine that just the event nature of it got our podcast a bunch of listens, like advertising works.
Yeah. Well, and like, I feel like we were maybe not the poster child for the type of vibe that they really wanted going into that. Because like, it was very much a sit down and talk. We had
some mixed things to say.
I know. Like, it was a sit down and talk of a bunch of like toasty people from the early days of WoW. And like, still, like, when we talk about WoW, like, there's a twinge of something in our voices. Even though I'm like playing it now, like there's a thing. Like, I've seen some stuff, man. I've seen some stuff.
It's like we're some old veterans who've we saw things, man.
I mean, in fairness, like, we've got a lot of opinions about WoW. It was super formative to us. There's no game that is more important to my life than World of Warcraft.
Well, I mean, like, we wouldn't be together today were it not for WoW. But just straight up, we would not be together today were it not for WoW. But same token, like, there are some memories and drama that we'll never forget.
I was going to say, I think at 14 years, I was done with WoW forever. Or at 10 years in, which would have been 2014.
Yeah. I think of us, you are the one that has never returned.
My last play was in Pandaria.
Legion got me to play, and it got me to try BFA, but BFA got me to never play it again. So
yeah. I mean, WoW Classic is fun.
WoW Classic was fun for a while.
Well, and I think, like, of our extended group, the only one who has never stopped playing is Elian, because I think he has always raided. I don't know if he's ever officially stopped.
I may have created a monster.
That would be one of those people you were teaching to raid.
You taught too
You were
good,
teaching me
Tam.
how to raid.
The crack.
Elliot and I
stuck.
hit 60 on the same day during BC, and we were in Karazhan that night because Tam found a group to take us in and show us the ropes.
Look, I mean, that works. Like I said, I got into EverQuest because somebody took me on a Vox raid as my first experience in EverQuest. Like, that is an effective thing.
70, whatever.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'd stuck around in WoW Classic, long enough to actually even meet you guys because somebody, needed bodies for a Molten Core run. And, it was real exciting. And I started raiding. And Molten Core wasn't even that good.
Oh my goodness.
But at the time, it was amazing.
I was on some weird, 2 a.m. in the middle of the night raid. I stayed up all night for my first Molten Core run. I remember the phone call where I was in a hotel room with a bunch of druids and rogues, and I get the phone call from Tam saying that he's gonna make a spot for me in late night raiding, and I just was so excited.
God, the other side of that was weird, by the way. The other side of that was I forget who was giving me the ultimatum, but it was basically we're tired of rogue churn. Either just deal with the fact that Izzy is going to be a rogue in our raid.
Oh, God, Izzy.
Or find somebody who will commit tonight.
Oh, my God. That is a name I have not heard in a while, and I was better for it.
I was very happy to commit.
Yep. And I was I know who I can ask right now who will commit immediately.
I know my recruitment by Shiana was basically because y'all hated a specific hunter and I would follow directions and was low-key.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of sculpting the group that is required.
I mean, that was the kind of legacy of 40-player raiding, was that you had to deal with a lot of assholes to pull together a raid.
Yeah, that management layer, it's still there, but nowhere near that hefty.
And the management layer, honestly, the management layer is exhausting and why I don't do it anymore.
It's why I've never really been keen on leading a raid again. There are times where I wish I could return happily to the era of having a super chill 10-player raid where everyone knows what they need to do and they just do it and life goes on. Because my 10-person raid in Wrath was kind of that way, and it was amazing. It was just fun. It was the night that gave me life during the week.
Yeah, it's just so hard to find enough people who are of the same mindset.
Well, and the problem now is, responsibilities have basically filled in the working world, which makes it real awkward that it is harder to commit to a schedule than it used to be.
On the plus side, now none of us have a commute to worry about in the morning.
It's true.
Yeah, that is definitely a plus, but boy, there are some downsides. I never know when to stop working.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
But no, the small raid thing, that's why, when we occasionally play FF14 together, it's usually so great because you only have to round up 8 bodies, and of all of the people that we know, it's usually reasonable to find 8 bodies who can do the thing.
My actual nightmare. It's so hard to do. You'd think it would not be that difficult, but finding 8 people in the right frame of mind and all of those things is just exhausting. At least try to do it regularly.
That can do the same thing on the same night.
Yeah.
Repeating indefinitely until content is cleared, or,
Because I would totally do it. I don't mind doing the moment to moment guild leading or raid leading. That part doesn't really bother me. It's the like trying to round up 8 people, not having too many, but then not having one person not be able to make it, and then nobody can go because we don't have a thing.
Right.
It's exhausting. I don't think I have it in me anymore. I wish I did, because when it's going, it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
When
finally
we were
beating
doing-
Titania was a lot of fun.
Yeah, like when we were doing Binding Boil, that was some of the funnest raiding I've ever done.
Yeah, like I wish I had positive memories of Titania, because we did beat it and it was really satisfying, but it was so much behind the scenes wrangling and smoothing of ruffled feathers and
Mm-hmm.
That was right
being-
around when I joined you guys.
No. Titania was Shadowbringers, not Twintania.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, Twintania was just, it took a lot of work.
That took
And it
a
felt
long
really
time.
great when we finally beat that damn dragon, wyvern, whatever it is. Not even sure what Twintania is. Some form of dragon.
Dragon Bird.
A thing that I go in and just, straight murder every so often.
I have Twintania as a mount thanks to the Recruiter Friend program.
Same.
And every so often I equip it just because,
Got to show her who's boss.
yeah.
I
It
still
looks
use my
hilarious with
T-Rex.
the Lalafell on it.
Jeez.
It is one of the several mounts that doesn't change size, so
So one of the things that we had kind of kicked around ahead of this is like what some of our favorite topics are. And honestly, the favorite shows that we record are the ones when we are all of equal amounts of excitement about a specific game.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
really love those shows. Now, it is a massive challenge getting us all of equal amounts of excitement about a specific game.
I mean,
What?
even like even the games where we don't all necessarily have the same level of enthusiasm, but that we've all still been playing the same game at the same time and have our different viewpoints to bring to a conversation, I enjoy.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
this
how
is
they
what.
used to do the game of the month thing, although
Yeah.
that eventually stopped working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when the game of the month worked, it was really cool. But
Yeah, some of those went really well. Some of those went less well, especially for games that nobody really liked.
Citizens of the Earth.
I was going to say,
That
our
was the
very
first one that came to
game?
mind.
Well, it was interesting.
That game is not bad. It's just thoroughly mediocre, and nobody had anything to say about it.
That one was really interesting to me and gave me some insights into a bunch of stuff, because our selection process for that seemed like it made sense in theory, which was we would each submit a series of games that we thought would be interesting, and people would veto the ones that they just absolutely didn't want to play. Where the idea was we would get a game that we all at least agreed to play to play. And the problem was that what that led to was us choosing aggressively mediocre titles.
Yep.
And that was a really
And I
interesting.
think after Citizens of Earth, we stopped using that as a selection criteria.
Well, Citizens of the Earth was the first official AggroChat game, I believe.
Was it?
I think
Yeah, it
so.
was.
Yeah.
It absolutely was.
Because Sword Boyfriend, God, I'm drawing a blank on the name of that game.
Transistor.
Transistor, yeah. Transistor was like an unofficial episode because we all happened to be playing it at the same time.
Yeah, I think.
And that was
basically
kind of the seed that planted it. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we should do this thing.
Transistor was the game that made everybody think, hey, it's really cool when we're all playing the same game at the same time. But yeah.
It amuses me that game is Sword Boyfriend to you.
It's Sword Boyfriend. Yeah. I mean, just because like that was like one of the outtakes of us talking about it. And I want to say Apple Cider called it Sword Boyfriend on another podcast I had listened to.
Yep.
And it just stuck. But
I had a lot of fun with the game club while it was going on, but ultimately,
Mhm.
I think it just people got too busy, and it was hard to like make time to play a new game every single month.
Yeah.
apparently our listeners miss it though. Because like during Blogust, I caught some shit on the Blogust Discord for us no longer doing that.
There's still a things we haven't talked about for Tacoma, and I still feel bad.
I would have to restart it and play again because like I'd gotten to a certain point in the game, but God, I don't remember anything of it other than the sign language.
I have to say, there's a couple of games I'm really glad we did get to do for that. Persona 5 especially. I would never have played Persona 5 if it wasn't for that, and I loved that game.
Tyranny for me was the game that I'm glad we did.
I'm super glad for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad everybody really seemed to enjoy Chroma Squad.
Oh, yeah.
That is not a game I would have played if not for the Game Club.
Yeah, absolutely. I would never have touched Chroma Squad if not for that. It was a ton of fun.
That game is a lot of fun.
Oh, man. Even Tron Legacy. Like, I had never heard of this apparently cult classic. Would never have played it, but that was a lot of fun for me.
I mean, like, I think if it ever came back, we would maybe need to do a game of the quarter.
Yeah, it'd be like quarterly or
to where, like,
twice a year.
You got 3 months to play this game. We'll see you in 3 months.
It's possible we could. I mean, it's certainly possible we could find a format that works, especially because there's a decent. I'd say there's probably about 1 or 2 games a year that we all just naturally play anyway. Like, really good odds that everyone here is going to sit down and play FF7 Remake, for example.
Yeah.
I finally have my PS4, so I can do this thing.
Yeah.
Huzzah!
Oh, man. Was Horizon Zero Dawn a game of the month, or was that just a game we all talked about?
It was a game of the month.
I think we were all going to play it anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I know whenever the sequel comes out, we'll play that without a doubt. I'm going to play it again whenever it comes out on PC here in a month or 2.
Wait, that's in a month or 2?
Yeah, I want to say it's August or September, I think.
Did you guys ever go back and play the DLC?
I did not.
I never did.
Do that.
Yeah. Like,
I started it, but I got distracted.
I thought about doing a New Game Plus to play through the DLC, but like, I don't know. At this point, I'm not super sad I didn't, because then I've got new content when I play it on the PC.
I feel like I might boot that game up because I know somebody who should see it.
It is an amazing game.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
I approve of this idea.
Like, Aloy is one of my favorite new game protagonists of the last decade. I want more of that, or more adventures of that. But yeah, like, I mean, I think like a quarterly thing might work. It got to the point where it felt like every time I turned around, I was like, oh crap, here's another game that I've got a week to play because like I've been off doing other things.
Yeah, it was starting to feel like work.
Yeah. And I mean, as anybody who's been listening to this podcast for any length of time knows, we are strongly averse to doing work.
Accurate.
There was that time when, what was the ring, the podcast ring that we belonged to?
Alliance of Awesome?
Yeah.
No, it was TGE.
Oh yeah,
Network.
TEN.
Yeah.
So
we were the only podcast to be consistently producing podcast in that.
We're the only ones still alive, I think, from that group.
So there was a round table that was happening, and I think at some point, Belle, you were like, I don't want to do this. Does anyone want to do this? And I was like, sure, I'll do it. And they were talking about all of the work that they put into their podcast and all of the effort that went into the editing process and like how much they were chopping down. And I was like, and they're like, oh yeah.
Chopping down? What?
And what does AggroChat do? I was like, we hit record and then we filter white space.
That's it. Yeah, I apply some basic equalization. I mean, I do a compression pass to kind of level out the volumes, and then I truncate silence. Like what it is basically 3 rules that I apply in Audacity.
I was like, it sounds really impressive what you guys are doing over there, though. I felt real awkward at that moment.
What wasn't the show that you ended up on like this super awkward treatise on atheism?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I feel like I would have remembered that.
Yeah,
That sounds memorable.
like that round table went into some places.
I was on vacation, I want to say, when I was doing it, so I was a little only half paying attention all the time.
Yeah, it just cracks me up that like of all the shows that were in that network, we're the only ones still standing.
It's because we're the one that doesn't require a lot of work.
Well, and, I mean,
There's something to be said for keeping it simple.
like a lot of podcasts are very constructed. And I did not want AggroChat to be that. I wanted it just to be kind of like at the end of the day, my vision was, it's like as if we hit record on any given night on voice chat.
Yeah. It's like we're having all these conversations anyway. Why not record them for posterity?
I gotta say, it's one of the things I've been thinking of. The value is that we don't do voice chat as much, and that's mostly because we aren't in like these massive guilds doing 40-man raiding.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were doing that, yeah, you could log into the voice server, and because you were expected to have 60 to 80 people in your organization, there would always be 10 to 15 people on and be some sort of a rotating cast. But we don't have organizations of that size where there's just always that low-level hum of community.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I find all of these conversations very therapeutic, just getting to chat with all y'all every week.
Yeah, I feel like I need it more than I used to, just because like I'm not on voice hardly at all anymore, and it's for various logistical reasons.
Yeah.
Like I mostly am playing through Parsec, which voice chat doesn't play with. And especially now that we're in, the land of pandemic, my office upstairs is work now, and it feels real weird to stay up here once I've clocked out. So like I'm going downstairs to escape being at work. Although like the last several nights I've been hanging out upstairs more, and I've enjoyed it. Like I've been, I don't know, doing more groupie type stuff. So maybe I've also missed that as well. I had been in pretty serious turtle mode for quite a while, where I was mostly only playing by myself.
Yeah, that is hard. Like if you want to play a single player game, or if you want to play a game on your console, it's hard to get on voice chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like technically, I think TeamSpeak has a mobile app, but it's garbage.
It's awful. Please don't use it.
I'm looking forward to
I'm really excited
next
about
week.
PSO2's launch on PC on Tuesday.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
my hope is we can get some people to hop in and play together.
Yeah,
Yep.
like if I can on PC, then I can just be on our normal voice chat instead of trying to make Xbox chat, work. Which it finally did, and it was okay.
Yeah.
And it
It's
didn't
nice having
randomly
push key.
insert 14-year-olds yelling slurs at you.
No, we had a private.
No, you use Xbox Party Chat.
Yeah.
I have an intense association with Xbox voice chat.
That's why I don't use it for anything other than party chat.
A lot of people don't use it for anything other than party chat for exactly that reason.
My first experience with Xbox chat is I was playing Carcassonne, and somebody was trash talking me while I was playing Carcassonne. That road's not going to go anywhere. Why are you wasting my time?
What?
You'll never finish that cathedral.
Wow.
Like it was just the most aggressive like chat over Carcassonne. It's like you were trash talking me over quite possibly the nerdiest game you could be playing on Xbox Live Arcade. What the hell, dude?
It sounds like a skit.
It was just surreal. I didn't even have a headset hooked up, but it's like blaring across my television. That was a dumb move, bro. Yeah. So I've had significantly less aggro-ness over PSN chat than I've experienced over Xbox chat.
I haven't used anything other than party chat there either, so I can't say.
Yep.
PSN will ban you with the quickness.
Well, and PSN is also pretty notorious for doing full console bans, not just account bans.
Moderation works.
Hey.
I would say like another topic that I really enjoy when we get into it is like the more esoteric elements of game design.
Oh man, I'm glad somebody other than me likes that.
Yeah, no, I love that stuff.
I don't know if any of our listeners care about it, but I enjoy it. Especially like when we're talking about like the effects of game mechanics on the social infrastructure of a game. That kind of cross relation between like the motivation of players and how it matches to the design. I enjoy that.
Oh yeah, I just enjoy hearing stories from like what it is like to actually be working on games. Because there's always that vision you have as a kid, like that I feel like a lot of people have of what it's like to be working on games. And then the reality of, oh yeah, this is actually work.
So when I was pulling together the list of all of our shows, the one that surprised me, like you can look at a lot of the shows that have gotten a significant number of listeners, and it usually could be accounted by the fact that I had non-atrocious SEO on the title of the show. And had some buzzword that actually shows up. Like here's the thing. I do not do us a credit with my show titles because I like picking some random thing that was discussed in the show rather than like the most popular thing that we talked about that evening.
Or even just a list of the things we talked about.
Yeah.
The list is in the post, but yeah, and therefore in the description.
But like, so there's a show that has Pokemon in the title, and that's like way up there. So obviously, well, that makes sense. The one that doesn't make sense is our fourth most listened show is the one about Galaxy Trucker. So maybe it has a significantly higher following than I realized.
Listen, us Vlada heads run deep and we run strong.
Wow. I mean, I was gonna make a joke that was basically that.
Dude, Coach will cut you if you make a joke about Vladish Vadal.
Like, I don't know if that's... I mean, it could be that there's not as much content in general for that topic, and so people looking for stuff actually find ours.
I was
like
just literally...
Like how the Cloudpunk dev actually found our podcast.
That was so weird. Like, okay, so... I doubt that the Cloudpunk dev will be listening to any more podcasts of ours. Just, I mean, but honestly,
so
man,
hi, if you are.
Hi,
Hello.
but you probably got us more exposure by mentioning us than we got you exposure.
Yeah, and I was probably going to pick up Cloudpunk anyway, but like,
I did. I absolutely did.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. Yeah, because that's adorable.
The system works.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure that if we got like if somebody were like, hey, if some dev were like, hey, we'd love to hear you talk about our podcast, talk about our game on your podcast, like we probably would do it. Although I'm not sure why anybody would want that.
Yeah, although the one time it happened, the one time it happened, we never could really make it work because it was a weird game. It was a mostly in-person couch co-op game.
Yeah.
And we're not a couch co-op podcast, so...
I do need to play that game at some point. Now that, well, again, once I'm allowed to see my friends again.
Although it was a cool setup.
Although it does remind me a lot of... have you guys seen Jackbox's like hit and roll game?
No.
Oh man, it is great. So, are you familiar
werewolf?
with? Yeah, are you familiar with the werewolf or hit and roll games in general?
There's that Secret Hitler or whatever as well.
Yeah. So the idea is that everyone is a human except two people are aliens, and the humans are trying to figure out who the aliens are and airlock them.
Oh yeah, I have played this game.
It's called Press the Button.
Yeah, it's great.
And like how you determine who the alien is you submit three of the contestants, three of the players to a contest in which they are given a prompt to like draw or answer or something, and the alien is given a slightly different prompt.
Oh, clever.
So like the players, everyone might be given draw your favorite food, and the alien might be given, draw an animal.
Oh, wow.
Which, you know, I mean, it could be the same thing.
And then the alien has to explain why dog is their favorite food. But that's the idea, is that you're trying to blend in with, and the people are trying to suss you out. And then at any point, players can press the button, and when they press the button, everyone votes to see if they're on two people who they're going to airlock. And once they airlock people, if they airlock both of the aliens, the humans win. If they airlock even one human, the aliens win.
I think it would be really fun to try and do like a tabletop simulator night. The problem is like most of the games I would want to play, you'd have to find sketchy pirated copies of the games because like I've played Munchkin over Tabletop Simulator and it was really great, but like also not legit in the least.
I know a lot more games are releasing digital versions on Tabletop Sim.
Yeah.
I've also not touched Tabletop Simulator in a really long time, but it was fun. I mean, it was a reasonable equivalency. Any other specific types of shows that we've recorded that y'all enjoy?
I mean, I always enjoy the shows where we dive really deep into the story of a game.
Yeah.
Our spoiler shows they're definitely up there for me. Like I've loved it when we did the various Final Fantasy story shows because there's just so much in those.
Well, and usually when we do shows like that, other people have picked up on things that I missed, so it makes it extra fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I've got like ideas and theories about things and stuff, and then, you know, we all get together and start talking about this stuff. And yeah, there's stuff that I hadn't even thought of. It's great.
So I think we already hit on one of my favorite things to do is reminisce on old MMO war stories.
I mean, I feel like that's a safe fallback at any given time because we have plenty of them.
I don't know. I enjoy. Usually it's Tam who puts these topics on, but whenever we try and get a little bit more abstract into concepts, I think one of my favorite of the abstract concepts we talk about is like the concept of difficulty or the different types of difficulty. But anytime we go into like more abstract concepts of what a game is, I enjoy those a lot.
I like just a thing that I started doing about like 10 years back now. Somebody got really, really mad at me, to like ending a friendship mad at me because they thought that I would love this game that they were in and I didn't, and I couldn't really explain why. And it's a thing that I think about a lot. So like it kind of set me on a path to always thinking about why do I like or dislike things. And it's been really interesting to me to like think about all of the reasons I like or dislike something. Just because I don't, you know, it's so easy not to think about it. Just be like, oh, I like this, or oh, I don't like this. But like to sit down and be like, why don't I like this? Or why do I like this? Because then it's led me to try a whole bunch of stuff that I would never have otherwise thought about, and like pick up stuff that I'm like, no, I'm going to hate this. And then I try it and it's like, no, actually, I actually like it because I don't have some, you know, preconceived notion, or I do have a preconceived notion about the kinds of things I like, but I'm willing to prove myself wrong.
Right.
And I think that's been really interesting. Like, it's a discussion that I like to have because I'm also really interested in like, why do other people like things? Because people all like different stuff.
I think one of the big challenges for me has been like, there's a lot of times that there's a game that on paper, it should be something that I love. And then I like keep going back and keep exploring, trying to figure out why I don't love this thing, like why it doesn't feel as good as I think it should. And like sometimes I reach a point of peace with that. Like, so we were playing Guild Wars 2 today. Guild Wars 2 is the first alpha program that I noped out of. Like it was a weird alpha program. I had to sign my life away with the NDA. Like I had to get it notarized. I had to mail it in, instead of just like check a box and say yes. However, like I knew early on that like, oh yeah, no, this isn't for me. And I relinquished my spot in the alpha thinking, oh, they can fill it with somebody else. And then when it released, I tried again. I'm like, okay, like this should be a game that I really enjoy. And for me to reach the point where I now enjoy it, I had to change like what I was looking for in a game, or at least reconcile what that game was trying to be. But like the perennial one for me, like that I struggle with is like, I don't understand why I don't like Warframe. But I continue to try and explore why I don't like Warframe, or like why Destiny has been so big for me versus like why Warframe hasn't. But through this podcast, it's been beneficial in trying to test out theories and listening to other points of view, like as to why other people are loving this thing that on paper should be perfect for me, but like never really has felt that great.
Yeah. And every so often there's one that'll like really make me rethink like, oh, hey, no, I have changed. Because for me, the game that I should have absolutely loved and couldn't get into was WildStar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's no, it frustrated me to not be able to figure out why I wasn't just like deeply into this game. And ultimately it was like, WildStar was the game I played where I was like, oh, I think I'm done with WoW. This is
a better version of WoW and I don't like it.
Well, it was everything that I said I wanted in WoW.
Well, and I think I went through some of that with Rift as well. Because like Rift was on paper my perfect game. And it was fun for a while, but like it became a mess that was impossible to balance. And the fact that like there were massive changes so often, to where you'd log in and like your character that was already complicated to assemble was like completely unrecognizable, and you'd have to like redo your bars entirely.
Rift was definitely a weird experience for me. Rift has one of the things that I claim to like a lot, which is complexity in like preparation, complexity in making builds, complexity in selecting things, except it wasn't terribly well balanced. And the proper way to do things was to make a build that you could press one button and win all of your fights.
Yeah. But like I had similar feelings with WildStar because like at a surface level, that should have been a game that I loved. But like there was just something about it that didn't quite sync. Because I absolutely loved all the cosmetic elements of it.
I love that
riding around in a giant Cheshire cat was amazing.
I could play a gun mage. It's the only game that's ever let me do that. And I could be a healer. Like, why wouldn't I like that?
Well, and it was one of the first games that I can remember like genuinely really enjoying PvP.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a thing for me. But unlike the rest of you guys, I just loved that game.
Well, it was for me, it was super helpful hearing you talk about it because it helped me understand my own thoughts. And it made me realize that like I don't actually like. Once upon a time, I liked technical complexity for its own sake, and I don't anymore. And like that was a realization about myself. I have become the kind of person who reads the flavor description of an ability before I read what the ability does, and generally decide if I want to use that ability based on the flavor description before reading about what the ability actually does.
I still can't tell you exactly why I didn't attach to WildStar. But like I never made it past about level 25 and made a couple of attempts to do it and never quite made it past that point either time.
Y'all are making me real sad.
I'm sorry.
I can answer at least some of it. I thought WildStar was difficult in two ways that were interacting poorly for me. Like, I felt like I was dying, and I felt like it was wasting my time on the run back. is what I remember.
I did die a lot. A lot.
Also died a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Same.
The game was it was designed to be hard, and I don't usually mind that. But when that penalty was punitive, that's when I got bothered by it.
Well, and I think the other thing that happened around the same time as I got involved in testing of ESO, I believe that's the sequence of events. God, I don't know. Time has no meaning.
Yeah, there's a lot of games that I just stopped playing because of bad timing, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing for me a lot of the time now. I only have so much time for games.
Well, I'll start released significantly after ESO. That wasn't it. I don't know.
WildStar was after ESO?
Yeah.
Really?
ESO was April 2014. WildStar was June 2014.
Huh. That would explain a lot about why I was not in the mood for WildStar. I think that the timing was uniquely bad for me, which is a pity because it was super cool in a lot of ways, and I'm sad that it's not still around because I feel like it should be.
I feel like it still has the absolute best level up sound system.
Oh my gosh!
I disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I love Cupcake.
The fact that they recorded a unique one for each level up is definitely impressive, but I got sick of them very quickly.
Frankly, I preferred having someone make fun of you when you died. That was one of my favorite touches.
That was the other thing about that game is I think I was playing that game. I was playing the equivalent of the World of Warcraft Undead because I was the cute little hamster creatures.
Oh,
and
Chua.
I was a Chua as well. I mean, I was a Chua engineer.
And I was like, yes, I want to be this cute little creature, but like in World of Warcraft with the Forsaken storyline, it was, here, go do all of this cartoonishly evil stuff.
I had way less of a problem with that in WildStar. I think because it was so cartoonishly over the top.
Yeah, it was very Snidely Whiplash. It was, tying somebody to the railroad tracks. That was a tangent that I didn't expect us to stay on.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
This is just what we do here.
It's true.
I find it really hard to believe that this is show number 300. Like, that just seems like a ridiculously large number. And I guess the fact that we do it every week is what's allowed it to become that big, but...
Every week for 6 years.
Yeah.
Almost every week, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, other than, well, we used to do PAX and shows, but, I stopped being able to go to PAX.
Mostly PAX has been reports from me.
Yeah. Hey, Ash, what'd you see?
That means, unfortunately, you get to be subject to my filter as what's interesting.
Unfortunately, we won't have E3 to talk about this year, or likely any other show.
Gen Con was canceled for the first time in 50 years. That one hurts a lot for me.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
At least on the gaming show front, I think folks are going to figure out that, oh, hey, we could just make our own announcements periodically. We don't need a big show. I mean, it's worked for Nintendo Direct. Which
they're having a hard time making right now, so it's actually not working for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a workflow thing. Because, to me, it doesn't make sense why it would be difficult to make a Nintendo Direct. Is it just a production quality thing? Because...
It might be, that they can't make recordings separately that meet their standards for what goes into a Nintendo Direct.
Yeah,
I mean,
because the production values are kind of high.
We're so much more forgiving right now than we would otherwise be. I don't know.
Yeah, I honestly like the low production value of all of these random Zoom call conferences that I'm seeing.
Everybody's kids running in the background and pets and spouses and various, what's on the wall behind everybody. That's normal life now.
Right. And, there's something charming about it because, it forces people to be, more real, I think.
Yeah, it's really cool. But also, I would not be surprised if there's places that are no, we can't handle this.
Yeah. I mean, especially if they have a cultural ethic of everything being like Nintendo has always had this everything has to be perfect before it goes out the door kind of thing going on. And I have a feeling, quality. Yeah, like I have a feeling like this is real hard. I mean, it's going to be surreal because like we're going to get, all the new console reveals in this format. This is still a big year for gaming, and it's going to be weird.
New console generation and everything. Now, just the big two, right? Or not even the big two. Just the non-Nintendo are doing a new console, right?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, there's not a Nintendo console.
That was the plan. We don't know what the current plan is. They're still talking about the new consoles heavily.
Everything I've seen is that both Xbox and PS4 are this holiday season.
Yeah, that is the plan currently. Is probably a sometime in November ship. That usually tends to be when consoles come out if they're a holiday console, either that or October. But like, I wouldn't bank on October right now.
I have no idea.
Planning is hard. Production is hard.
I understand the supply chain more than I ever have in my life, and I couldn't tell you.
Well, and right now, like, there are component shortages that would need to go into both of these machines, so we'll see. I have a feeling that it's going to be one of those console generation years that if you did not pre-order the console, you're probably not getting one until next year.
You might not get it if you pre-order either. We'll see.
Yeah.
Or it's either going to be next to impossible or it's going to be trivially easy to get.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I remember the Wii year. I think I got mine in February because they were just sold out forever.
I think I got mine the following March or April.
I only got mine because a relative worked at GameStop and as a wedding present gave me her spot in line for the pre-order.
Wow, that's love.
Wow. Yep.
I mean, the Switch, God, it was a half a year later before I think I got mine. Just
that one I got pretty early.
I also got that one pretty early. But also Nintendo consoles tend to operate a little differently. Like, I'm not sure I have ever seen anything approaching, like, shortage on Xbox or PlayStation consoles.
The PS4 was hard to get for its first few months.
PS2 was real tight. And I remember I was working in an IT shop, and this guy didn't show up for work. And we called him to find out where the hell he's at. And he was apparently standing in line at Best Buy, like 4 people out from buying a PS2. And the boss at the time said, like, I don't care. You either get here in 30 minutes or you're fired. And he didn't get his PS2 and was forever salty from that point forward. And I got my PS2 because I got it secondhand. And like the office admin's boyfriend had spent all their money on the PS2 and she was trying to recoup the costs. And I think I ended up getting the PS2 and I don't know, Unamushu. But I remember PS2 definitely being a console that was hard to get.
For me, that was a birthday present the first year it came out because my dad was working in retail at the time.
I've never gotten a Microsoft console vaguely close to the release, so I don't know how those go.
The 360 was not hard to get a hold of. I did not get one when it was close to release. But there weren't too many issues trying to get it. The PS3 was even worse. Like that console launched too expensive, and there were a lot of them to go around.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that was a $600 console release, wasn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I have one of those originals, but mine I got, years after the fact. I think I gave my friend $150 for it.
I got mine secondhand off of one of my cousins. I think I paid $300 for the thing and all of his games.
I have a habit of either Craigslisting or pawn shopping consoles.
You Craigslist things a lot, apparently.
I mean,
you'd be better at it than a lot of us.
Like I haven't Craiglisted anything in a really long time, but yeah, no, I've gotten lots of things from Craigslist. I got my Vita from Craigslist. I got my PS4 from Craigslist.
I admit I'd be a little concerned if you were still Craigslisting aggressively.
Well, Craigslist has more or less died here. and it is Facebook Marketplace, and I just can't stand Facebook. So that seems to be where everybody is selling things. And once again, this is the show. Like, we go off on weird tangents. And we are probably at a point where we should wrap things up because I don't really remember when we started recording tonight. Any final thoughts about the last 300 episodes?
I just want to know if we have listeners who have listened to 300 episodes and what they actually like, right? Like, what do they like? What have they enjoyed? Why are they still here?
Why go home? Like, why are you doing this to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Like, at this point, okay, so I've said for years that, like, my blog is mostly therapeutic at this point, and I think for the most part, this podcast has turned into a unique excuse to get all of us at the same place at the same time.
Yep.
So, I don't know what y'all are getting out of this, but, like, we have our own motivations.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Here's to the next 300.
Yeah.
Here's to the next 300. 6 years from now. Ooh.
Wow.
I don't know. We could move to like a three week thing.
No.
No. Ash, you're fired. No, Ash.
That would violate our don't do work clause.
Yeah, like that's entirely too professional. We'd have to like start covering true crime or something if we went to 3 a week.
Or Shudder Games Journalism.
This week on Serial.
We talk about games journalism already sometimes.
We do.
We don't do
We
it.
don't officially do any of it.
Yeah.
We tried that once, but it wasn't successful.
I tried that once as well.
The hilarious thing is, you probably could get into PAX now
I don't know.
on a pass. Like, not a media pass, but they give out influencer badges.
I don't know, man. I just don't know.
I mean, Bell
and
could
honestly,
definitely.
Like, I did the press junket thing at PAX and it was miserable. Like, I did it 2 years. It was miserable. I would rather just hang out and talk to the little indies that are super proud to show me their game.
Didn't you guys?
What?
Didn't you guys get to beat like some famous YouTuber on?
Yeah, it was Angry Joe.
Yeah, we did. And he's, and based on his content, he still looks like he's a jerk. But, yeah, like the whole press meeting thing was just miserable. Like, I don't know, that and a lot of other things disillusioned me to the whole writing about a games for somebody else's dime. Like, I mean, it just, I don't know. Like, there are some icky aspects to it that turned me off. And like, I would be perfectly fine with people saying, "Hey, how about you play this game?" But I want to make sure that they understand that I'm going to play this game or I'm not going to play this game, one way or the other. But in either case, like, you're just going to get whatever I think about it. Like, I am not open to advertising, and I'm not open to paid content placement or whatever they're calling it now.
You still get those like regularly?
I do. And I mean, at least I haven't gotten Raid Shadow Legends. But yeah, I mean, like, my opinion will never be for sale. Oh, Jesus. My opinion and the opinion of this podcast will never be for sale.
Yeah, you can't pull our advertising because we don't advertise.
Yep.
All of this comes from my pocket, except for the voice server. It used to be shared across everybody. And now we just found somebody to host it for us. Thanks, Toad Child. Anyway, so that was not a wrap up. That did not happen.
We're bad at this. Like a Midwestern goodbye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Got to start at 30 minutes early so you can get out of there. Any final thoughts?
Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah. Like we would do this without anybody listening, but it is somewhat nice occasionally to know that somebody's out there listening. I guess on that note, hopefully you enjoyed the show as contorted as this one was, and we will see you again next week for a normal one. whatever normal means.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does that even mean?
Yeah, what?
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya.